Bibles, stand on your feet and turn to the Gospel of Luke, the 22nd chapter of the Gospel of Luke. Amen. And we're just going to lift 3 verses to begin with, 6 in entirety, but 3 to begin with. Luke, the 22nd chapter, starting at verse 31. Luke, the 22nd chapter, and we're starting at verse 31. And the Lord said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan hath desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for thee, that thy faith fail not. And when thou art converted, strengthen thy brethren. And he said unto him, Lord, I'm ready to go with thee, both into prison and into death. And he said, I tell thee, Peter, the cock shall not crow this day, before that thou shalt thrice deny that thou knowest me. The word of the Lord is blessed. You may have your seats. Sister Joanna, this morning I want to talk about traveling shoes. It was an old song. I had given it to y'all in advance. I thought of Emmanuel, I thought of BJ. I said, there's no way they know traveling shoes. I had to give them that. Y'all, some of y'all know that song? Yes. You two y'all know that song too. Who that? Who's it? Mama know that song. She knows it. There's a song called Traveling Shoes, Lord. Got on my traveling shoes. And that fit in right here with the title, but I'm going to keep going at it, but I won't. I said good morning, and my heart was heavy this morning when I went over the message. My heart was heavy because I had wanted to say, I said, our hearts go out to those suffering in the aftermath of the Walmart shooting in El Paso. And how we are couching this thing as political opposition. We try to say it's a political debate, but it's just the devil. Folk are shooting for no reason, going up into Walmart while people are getting their back to school supplies. It doesn't make any sense to me. And they're trying to say, because I'm Republican and you Democrat and all of these things, and because you have this idea on immigration and I have another idea on immigration, and that we're killing each other, but it's just the devil. Don't confuse, this is spiritual warfare. This is designed to try to terrorize the people of God and de facto the church. Amen. And I had that written down, Sister Dawn, I had that written down. And then I found out last night, I had that written down. Woke up this morning and found out there been more shootings in Dayton, Ohio. At 1 o'clock this morning, there was another shooting. And 9 people are killed. And I said, my God. It's praying time, not Jesus. I said, my God. I don't understand it. God said, you don't have to understand it. Just pray about it. That's right. He said, when thou art converted, strengthen your brethren. The people in Dayton need our prayers. Yes. More than they need our money, they need our prayers. Yes. More than they need us to argue and march on Washington about why guns. And, we need to pray God's strength. Yes. In El Paso and in Dayton and in Parkland, for wherever the devil is busy. Yes. Amen. Because the Lord is soon to come. Yes. He's soon to come. Amen. And so we certainly going to designate or strategize our prayer time. Because Greater Bethesda, we need to get on our knees and pray for the world that we're living in. Amen. It's time now. It's time out for just praying for ourselves, praying for new cars and praying for scholarships. It's time to pray for the world that we're living in right now. It's facing destruction. Amen. But I digress. I'm going the other way. Amen. I also have a lot to thank the Lord for. I thank the Lord for 20 years of wedded bliss to my chocolate queen, Wendy Michelle. Amen. And what God has joined together, truly, let no man tear asunder. As many of y'all know, last week we were blessed to go to Europe. We went to London first, then to Paris. And it was good to spend time with my wife. Amen. But it was better to get reacquainted with my girlfriend. We was walking down the street, I was holding hands with my girlfriend. I said, look at that. Ooh, girl. I said, flirting and carried on. That's it. was nice to spend time with my girlfriend. You know, I praise God. Now, fellas, you need to do that.
Yeah, that's right.
Every now and again, it's often you spend time with your wife, but every now and then you need to go, you and your girl. Amen. And I think sons, the more that our sons see us take our girls, the more they will learn about how they should treat when that time comes for them. Praise the Lord. But we was in prayer, so y'all ain't see it. Now, Oprah Winfrey said, travel makes one modest when you see what a tiny space you occupy in this world.
Amen.
And that's true. When you see just how small Clinton, Maryland is in context of the whole world, when you see how small your life is compared to the whole world, right? When you think, Lord, I'm just so broke, I don't know what I'm going to do, then you meet a child who has nothing to eat. When you hold up your problem against the world's problem, your problem starts to look so tiny. Amen. And so, in my first time visiting, now y'all can imagine pastor in Europe. That's what you imagine. First time going to Europe, and when I go places, Sister Brown, I like to do what the natives do. I want to eat where the native people eat. All that stuff, right? So, now I'm DC boy, and most of us born in DC, if you've had any business or dealings downtown, we've had to deal, you understand what I'm talking about. Right? You understand what tourism is. You understand that you've missed the light because just as you're trying to cross Constitution Avenue, a class of 200 kids come by with those same shirts on. Right. You had to hit the brake quick because somebody's trying to take a picture of the Washington Monument standing in the middle of the street. You understand that there's a certain kind of tourism, right? And I say, when I go places, I don't want to be a tourist. So I'm in Paris, right? And I found out that that's exactly what I was. I was that guy. I almost got hit a couple times. Didn't know I almost got hit a couple times. First of all, y'all should have told me that the car's got the driver's thing on the other side. Should have said that. That changes everything. That people go this way instead of that way. I was looking the whole wrong way when I went on the street. I was looking at this, watching for the oncoming traffic, and here come the oncoming traffic. Praise God! You only make that mistake like once. Oh, praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. So, I was the tourist. I had the big camera around my neck, had the maps in my back pocket, trying to figure out how much money is this? How many euros do you need? I was that. Y'all are laughing. That I did not want to be that guy, but I was that guy. And we got to Paris. One of the things that I was really looking forward to was called the Blacks in Paris tour, where they take you on a tour of the city and they talk about the impact of Africans on the city of Paris and on Europe, the kind of Europe in general. And they also talk about Americans or African Americans who have expatriated. So I was very, very excited. You can imagine, as a history geek that I am, I was totally excited, fired up to be there. Right. I was like, we went on 7-Eleven day where they give you the free Slurpees and everything. I was like that. So we get to the Café du Littoral. You hear the French? You hear that? One day I'm going to let y'all hear first ladies try to speak French. She can't speak no French. Oh, it was brutal. But anyway, I digress. So we all met in this cafe. The tour was full of people from different places, right? So we're all at the cafe, and we wait to start the tour while other people are coming. And our tour guide, a guy named Miguel, he said something, and the Lord rang a bell in my spirit as soon as he said it. And I knew then that that was the message the Lord was trying to get me to. And that was probably Wednesday. And he said, I wrote it down. He said, now that you're here, if you want to move from tourists to travelers, here's some things you must do. I said, what? I hear you, Miguel. He said, if you want to make a move from tourists to travelers, here's some things you must do. And the Lord said, Brian, tell them that I need my children at Greater Bethesda, and I need the people of God everywhere to make the transition from tourists to travelers. I said, okay, God. A tourist is a person who is visiting a place for pleasure. With the camera and the map to the back. And you can tell a tourist because the word tourist comes from a French word tourner, which means to turn with a stick. So tourists go wherever they're turned to go. They go to the various sites. Go over here, look at that. Now come over here, look at that. Now you know you're a tourist when you're on a tour, a specified place. But a traveler is a person who changes residency at varying points. Derived from the word travailler, from Latin, which means to toil or labor to become. Right. So a traveler is someone who moves to France and lives in France. And then I might move again to Italy and live in Italy. But when I'm in France, I endeavor to become part of France. To speak the language of France and to eat the food and do all that stuff. Meanwhile, tourists don't do that. We in the United States are some of the worst tourists in the world. I found that out when you go somewhere else. They look at you. When you say you're from the United States, that's not always a good thing.
No, it's not.
Right. Because we think we can go to their country and speak our language slower. Do you know we that presumptuous to think that a language that is older than our nation, that they gonna automatically speak my language because I got more money than them. But so God is saying today, I need us to make the transition from tourists to travelers. Now I said, okay, God, but then I thought about what Miguel had told us. He said, first of all, when you come to France, he was talking about France in particular, he said, the first thing you need to do to make this transition is to say, when you walk in a room to a person or involved in this situation, always begin by saying bonjour.
Bonjour.
Every time, no matter who it is. He said, the waiter at your restaurant, the bellhop, the bus driver, whatever, he reminds you to say bonjour. Right? Because French believe in acknowledging the presence of everyone. Because they had a revolution over people trying to be cute. And so they believe that I don't care who it is, they are worthy of acknowledgement. And if you're going to make a transition to a traveler, you first have to acknowledge the presence you're in.
Yes.
So God says the same kind of thing. I need y'all to acknowledge my presence.
Amen.
First lady shouldn't have to tell you to get up and praise.
That's right.
If you want to make a transition from a tourist, somebody just sightseeing and looking to a traveler, you need to first acknowledge the presence. And you can tell because you go on tours, he would take us places and we'd be standing on the streets and things, and I wouldn't even know where I was. And then he would say something, and you would be dumbfounded with the place you were. Like you might be standing in front of a building, and he would say, "This is where Josephine Baker died." I'm standing. I didn't even understand where I was. Right? God said, "Do you understand where you are?"
My God.
Said you come in and you're looking around, but do you understand where you are? See, tourists gonna look around. I just want a picture, but to be a traveler, you have to understand, all right, where you are. Then the next thing he said, this blew me away. He said, never ask a Parisian, that's the person who lives in Paris. He said, never ask a Parisian what they do for a living. He said, why? Because they don't define themselves by what they do.
Amen.
It don't make no difference that you're a lawyer and I'm a street sweeper. So why are you asking me what I do for a living? The only reason you would ask me that is because that's going to affect the way you treat me.
Exactly.
I said, my God, help us back home.
Yeah.
Do we do? That's one of the first things. When I go out on a date with you, I want to know what you do. I'm a really nice person. What you do?
That's what determines something.
I'm going to be a really good husband. What do you do? Good husband. Why? Because that's going to affect the way that I treat you. But in Paris, that's so.
It's an
insult. Because again, what people say about you, how people define you, is not what's most important. People will say what they want. If you're going to be a traveler and not a tourist, you have to know that. That you have to define yourself and not let what people say about you define you.
Amen.
You also have to respect or acknowledge the presence of everybody. Now the last one, this kind of blew me away. Sister Brown, this didn't make no sense to me at first. I'll be honest with you. She said, never give a waiter more than €5 as a tip. $5. Never. It's an insult to them. Now, I'm from Capitol Heights. You can lace me up as much as you want. What? If you want to give me 20, hey, let the Lord use you. What? But Miguel says, never give them more than a few euros. It's an insult because, see, the difference is, in Europe or in France, in France, the waiters get paid. They're not paid by, gratuities are just tips, little extra things, but they get a salary from the restaurant. Their needs are taken care of. And so, don't you think that you are taking care of their needs? Their need is taken care of. Don't toss me extra change like you are providing for me. They never forget who's actually providing for them. So your tip is nice, but it's not required. Because if you tip it, if I think that I need your euros, then I look at you as the provider. But the owner of the restaurant who pays the salaries, he or she is the provider. And God is saying the same thing. If you're going to make the transference from tourist to traveler, you have to know who the provider is. Yes. We have to stop giving credit to the tipper and not to the boss. So as we keep on going, many of us are going through great effort to get into the presence of God. We come to church, we come to Bible study, we do all these things so we can go sightseeing. Some of us want to go spiritual sightseeing. We want to see what healing looks like. We want to see what restoration and deliverance look like. I might get a picture of it so I can get a, oh yeah, that's cool. That's cool. But God says time out for sightseeing.
That's right.
I need some people who are committed, who are ready to be travelers and not just tourists. Amen. So if you ever get confused, I need you to put your traveling shoes on. Go back to the text. Luke, the 22nd chapter. If you ever get confused as to whether you're a tourist or a traveler, the place to go is to Jesus. Jesus will let you know if you're a tourist or a traveler. Yes. There's a whole lot of people who are thinking that they're a tourist. See, because, by the way, when you get on the bus, you don't know whether you're sitting next to a tourist or a traveler. That's right. We all dress the same. We all walk around the same streets. But whether I'm a tourist or a traveler depends upon the decision that I have made about where I am. Again, coming with a sense of expectation. All right, so by the time you get to chapter 22, Jesus is with the disciples. And I chose that I could have gone to Matthew, Luke, or John. But I use Luke in particular to parallel this story. Because one thing it mentions is that Luke talks about the Last Supper. And at the Last Supper, he specifically mentions Judas. John omits Judas, Matthew omits Judas. He specifically says Judas was at the Last Supper. And Judas did dine at the Last Supper. And God had to slow me down because he wants us at Greater Bethesda. I don't know who I'm talking to, but God told me to. I know I'm talking to somebody in here. It's time for you to feed your Judas. He said that the reason that deliverance comes in mediations on our jobs, the reason that we have victory is because you stay faithful to my process in the middle of your problem.
Amen.
So some of us are not, we get unfaithful to the process when the problem seems to get too big. And so God is saying, I need you, if you want me to deliver you out of these allegations, I need you to go boldly into the hearing. I'm not going to go. I refuse to sit. Don't sign no papers if you know you didn't do nothing wrong.
No, that's right.
Go up in there and know that I shall fight for you. I need you to stop being a tourist and be a traveler. Understand, to live in this thing, but it takes work. Being a traveler, I told you that the root word is travail, to work. And so what's happening is, after the Last Supper, Jesus begins to talk. In those days, after they had dinner, they would have like entertainment. They don't do that no more. It used to be like if your child could play the piano, your baby had to play the piano when company comes and all that stuff. And so usually they would have some kind of post-dinner discourse. And it's just supposed to be entertaining, but Jesus this time did not entertain them. By the time we get to chapter 22, Jesus begins to tell them after dinner, he begins to tell them what's going to happen, that he's going to die. And that their lives are about to change. Right? Now you would think those of us who are travelers, who've been traveling with Jesus, would understand, recognizing who he is, would understand that now he's about to go, so now my job really begins. But no, because they were sightseers, they had been with Jesus all that time, but because they were sightseers, they did not recognize what was going on. And so for the next 18 verses, they begin to argue with each other about who shall be the greatest. When he goes, who will take over? Who gets to sit in the big seat? Who gets the good parking space? Right? We start worrying about those kinds of things. The disciples all started to worry about those kinds of things. And so when they end up missing the whole point. And Jesus looks at Simon Peter. Now, whenever you look at Simon Peter, he's talking about all of us. I don't know about you. I see myself in Simon Peter all the time. Right? It's not by accident that the church will be built on the back of Simon Peter. That there will be, except for the Lord and the Apostle Paul, nobody will convert more souls to Christ than Simon Peter. He was a hoodlum. He came from south wherever. Right? He did not have elocution, and he was not mellifluous of tongue. He carried a gun in his leg. Well, those days a sword in his leg. Right? So his old urban ways from around the neighborhood, he didn't lose them, even though he was with Jesus. Now, one would have thought, if I'm with Jesus, I no longer do the things I used to do. But Simon wasn't. He still has some, stuff. And so it's not by accident that he has a conversation with Simon. Right here in verse 31. After they're talking about who's going to drink at my table, and who's going to be the greatest among you, and Jesus has to tighten up all that. He looks over to Simon Peter, and the Lord said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan hath desired to have you, that he might sift you like wheat. Check it out. Hey, Simon, I'm talking specifically to you. He said, Satan has desired. Now that word desired is exciato, and it means he is asked, like he did with Job. Satan just asked me, could he come get you? Conversations are being had. I need you to understand, Satan, and some of the people in this room, Satan has asked God, can he come get you?
Yes.
What you're about to go through, God is going to go with you, but Satan had to ask permission, could you go through that? Before you get this diagnosis or this prognosis or this whatever gnosis it is, Satan has already asked them. And he said, because he desires to sift you like wheat. In those days, see, it wasn't no wheat sifters like we got now. In those days, the way they sifted wheat was they threw the wheat on the ground and they let the big old animals crush it. Crush it with their feet, and then they took the rest and threw it in the air. And the chaff would fly away and the seed would come back down. So he said, just like the wheat, Satan has asked, can we let the world crush you? Can we let him talk about you on the internet? Can we let him scandalize your name? And then can we take everything that you know and throw it in the air? And the familiar, can we let your friends blow away? Can we let your family blow away? Can we let your job blow away? Can we let all those things go? That's what I want to see. He asked me, could he do that? And he said, but I, verse 32, but I have prayed for thee. Jesus prayed for him. Jesus said, I have spoken to my Father about you. You're going to go through a hard time.
Yes.
You're going to be martyred. He said, but I have prayed for you. Know this, that when you're going through, Jesus has prayed for you. That he sits on the right hand of the Father and he gives constant intercession. He's praying for you. He said that when thou art converted, strengthen your brother. Wait a minute, I thought you said Simon Peter was already saved. The word conversion means change. Then he's about to go through another change. Just because you got to know the Lord doesn't mean you stop changing.
That's right.
Just because you got saved doesn't mean you stop changing. Just because your list of I don't do no mores gets longer doesn't mean that you stop changing.
Yes.
And change, new birth, always requires work. It always requires travail. So after you finish struggling through what you're about to struggle through, don't cheer for yourself. God, my God, we as Christians, we're really good at cheering for ourselves. We are the best cheerleaders in the world. If you went to church and start shouting, tell them how good they are. Aren't you glad you don't do drugs? Aren't you glad you don't cheat on your wife? We get happy when we talk about the things we don't do no more. It was a struggle, and God was good, and that's how we got there. But he said, when you finish being converted, don't shout. Strengthen your brother.
Strengthen your brother. That's right.
Because somebody else is still going through what you got through. Don't judge them. My God. I don't know about you, but I've seen some guys who forget who they used to be, brother. I see some people in the church. I knew you before you got saved. How you going to look at that girl about what she used to wear? Would you had them Sergio Valentes on? I remember what you used to.
That's Sergio. Way back, you can take the back of that.
Way back. Sergio Valentes. Some of y'all don't know. Only a few of us know. They were G's, okay? Some of the things that y'all used to do and y'all used to say, but now you're going to pass a judgment on them. But he said, when you get converted, I need you to strengthen your brother.
That's right.
Not judge your brother. Not go down on your brother.
That's right.
And then he says, here come Peter. That's how you know Peter's like me and like you. Peter makes this great pronouncement. He says, Lord, I'm ready to go with you. To prison, even to death. Whatever you say, Lord, I'm with you. I'm ready to go. Right? Which shows you that he was a tourist. Because if he knew where God was about to go, if you knew what you was asking for, you wouldn't even ask for it. For real, if I would have known, nope. But yeah, I'll go. Like tourists. Okay. Let's walk to the Eiffel Tower. Let's take the stairs. Don't walk up the stairs to the Eiffel Tower. Take the elevator. I don't care how long you gotta wait, take the elevator. Then people, let's walk there, it's so romantic. By the time we got there, like, I want a divorce. Them 1,000 stairs. Right? But it seems like a good idea. If you don't know the thing,
That's right.
then you will misunderstand your role. Pride will make you think you can do things you can't do.
Oh my God.
Right? The tourists do it all the time. we'll just walk.
No, you won't.
But your hotel is on the way in Roslyn, Virginia. Where you at? I'm on Capitol Hill. Oh, we'll walk. I don't know if you want to do that. Well, sure, come on, dog. That's how we look. That's how Peter sounded. That's just how Peter sounded. Oh, I'll go with you. To prison. To death, whatever it is. Jesus, I'm with you. It was his pride, it was his boastfulness that made him think that he could walk where Jesus walked. And so Jesus had to check him and say, hey, you're just a tourist. He told him in verse 34, he said, I tell thee, Peter, the cock shall not crow this day before thou shalt thrice deny that thou knowest me. And we bust on Peter and we give Peter a hard time because we know Proverbs 16 and 18 had said, pride goeth before destruction and a haughty spirit before a great fall. I wish that they made us memorize that one. I wish we make the young people and the old people and the middle-aged people remember that pride goeth before destruction. Be proud of who you are. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a great fall. I learned that. I might have been KK size. They made us say that. Praise the Lord. Now, one thing you got to know. If being a Christian gives you self-confidence, then you're a tourist. Why you say that, King? Real simple. If being a Christian makes me more confident in myself, then I don't know what it means to be a Christian. If being a Christian gives me more confidence in Jesus and what he can do to me, now I am becoming a traveler. Right? The more and more and more I spend time with him, the more I realize I can't do nothing without him.
Yes.
If it makes me think I can do it by myself, then I'm not paying attention. Okay. So verse 34, he told him, before the cock crows 3 times, you will deny me 3 times. And I've seen this on TV, I've seen all this stuff. And I asked God, why the cock? He said, well, the rooster is a symbol of bossiness. The rooster is the boss of the yard. And he bosses around. And people think it's all about the morning, but roosters crow all day long. Roosters crow because he's trying to wake up the hens. He's not trying to wake you up. He's trying to wake up the hens so that he can have his way. So the very sound in the morning is not even about you. You're being disturbed by something else. And the rooster don't mind disturbing you to get what he wants. God is saying that same spirit exists in the church. You don't mind disturbing things to get what you want. But that's pride. I don't know why people don't eat the roosters. Do they eat roosters?
No.
They don't eat. Why they don't eat roosters?
They're the protector of the
If you making all that noise,
Because you need them to
I might eat
produce the eggs.
oh, they protect the hens. All right, you better protect them more quietly. Praise the Lord. You want some white bread? Protect them with this hot sauce. All right. So it is. I'm pray for me. And now the ASPCA gonna call me. So wait. So he tells them that before the rooster crows, you're gonna deny me 3 times. Now why 3 times? Because 3 is the number of divine completion. So it's gonna my heavenly assignment is gonna be completed. Because you're going to do 3 times, you're going to deny that you even know me. Wait, no. I'll go with you to death. I'll go with you to prison. Wherever you say, God, I'll go. Yeah, right. Then God tell you to do one thing. God tell you to go over and pay for a haircut at a brick shop. And you won't even go over there. But you'll sit here and say, whatever you say, God. Whatever you say. I'll go to Africa. No, I don't need you to go to Africa. I need you to go downtown. No, God, wherever you send me to Asia, I'll go to Sri Lanka. I don't need you to go to Sri Lanka. I need you to be kind to your next door neighbor. I need you to go to the fence and give them their lawnmower back. Help me with the long one. See that weed whacker? Your weed spit whack. Anyway, please. Help me. So go down, jump down to 54. 3 verses and I'm gonna get out your way. I tried Sister Kyle's. I didn't Mother Kyle in that 54. So now, see the difference is now the heat has turned up. Young people, you'll know who your friends are when the heat turns up. You will know who, and I'm telling y'all nodding here, but you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Everybody's your friend when you play PlayStation. Everybody's your friend when you got a couple coins in your pocket. But when the heat turns up, that's who you will see who your friends are. You'll be surprised who's still there and who's gone. And so by now the heat has turned up because they didn't come and grab Jesus. They carried him to the Pharisees' home. Verse 54 says, then took they him and led him and brought him to the high priest's house, and Peter followed afar off. Wait a minute. You told me you was going to be with me. God saying, too many of my children, their definition of with is afar off. You want to be with me, but you want to live afar off. You want to do what you want to do afar off, but you want to say that you're with me. That's what Peter kind of did. Peter was kind of waiting afar off, but trying to maintain a connection. Because he was just a tourist. Tourists don't try to get, when the people, right, if they see the old lady fall down in the street in Paris, which I saw a man take a picture of an old woman who fell in the street.
Wow.
The Parisian woman. Help her up! But that's what we do. A whole lot of us see things falling in the kingdom of God and we take pictures of it. We come home and we preach about it. And we talk about it. And we don't even pray about it. Because we want to say that we're with him, but we're really living afar off. So the Bible said that Peter followed from afar off. And when they had kindled a fire in the midst of the hall and were set down together, Peter sat down with them. The them are not the people of God. Them are the sightseers. I heard they're going to kill that man Jesus. Let's go see. That's why it's a spirit, my young people, if you can take a picture of a fight, you can break up a fight. Right. I'm talking to my young people in school now. Roll me all y'all. I'm sick of seeing videos of fighting in school. I've seen kids leave their classrooms with their phones, run out of their education to take a picture of a fight.
That's right.
It's the devil. It's the devil. I'm saying it right now. It's the devil. Loose here. You got to be a solution and not just a reporter.
Yep.
God's saying the same thing. I need my children to stop being sightseers and tourists and to travail, become travelers. So he sits down amongst the other sightseers. Verse 56 says, but a certain maid beheld him as he sat by the fire, and earnestly looked upon him and said, this man was also with him. She's looking, one of them girls was at the fire, and she peeped him out. You was with Jesus. That Jesus knew you was with him.
Right.
And what is Peter turns away. Peter, verse 57, he denied him, saying, woman, I know him not. What you talking about? See, you were in his presence. No, I wasn't. He didn't recognize the presence. I told you, if you're going to be a traveler, you must first acknowledge the presence. So he didn't acknowledge the presence that you was with him. Right? But I'm with you forever, from jail to death, whatever you say. Remember you said that? Remember? and in a little while, verse 58, and after a little while, another saw him and said, thou art also of them. You with Jesus. I am not. You with Jesus, I am not. They get to arguing over it, right? Trying to let the world tell them who they are. And he denies them again 2 times. You get where I'm going with this? The same way with the waiter, my job don't define me, depend, right? Get it? Then the last time, 59, about a space of 1 hour after, wait, you so saved, you can't stay with God for an hour? Just because 2 people argued and said you was with him? First of all, you lied and said you didn't know him. Right? When you do know him, when he's changed your whole life, when he changed your whole business, when you was a struggling fisherman, right? And all of those things. He changed your whole life around and now you act like you don't know him. Why? Because you want a promotion. And so, about the space of 1 hour after another, about the space of 1 hour after another confidently affirmed, saying, hey, of a truth, this fellow was with him. I know him. I see him. Nah, it was him. It wasn't me. It was you. I know it was you because you're a Galilean. Look at how you dressed. You're not dressed like us. Look at how he talks. Look at his haircut. He's not like us. He's a Galilean. He was with Jesus. I need you to understand, I have this written down. You are not supposed to be the same as everybody else. You're a Christian. God has determined that we are supposed to be peculiar, and your Christian will stick out. When you least expect it, the things that God has given you will stick out. One of the main things is we as Christians know where our help comes from. We don't lean on the same supports that the world leans on. And so, in the meantime, Peter, in his attempt to avoid, he once again says he knows him not. But, verse 60, if I'm not mistaken, has 2 sentences. One's a dependent clause. Peter said, man, I know not what thou sayest. And right in the middle of while he was saying that, Alana, the cock crowed. Right in the middle of his denial, right in the middle of while he was trying to cover his own tracks, right in the middle, God brought the truth back. He will do that to you. If you're just a tourist, right in the middle of your sightseeing tour, God will bring the truth. And so, it says, and he turned down, the Lord turned and looked upon Peter. And Peter remembered the word of the Lord. And how he said, before the cock crew, he would thrice deny him. And Peter went out and wept bitterly. I'm going to stop right there. Because the end of a tourist sightseeing tour is in tears. If all you want to do was see stuff, then you're going to end sad. When it's over, you go, oh, that's it? I spent all my money, and all I got was this picture of the Washington Monument? But if you're a traveler, then you have established relationship that will last. So this morning, play something soft for me, Sister Taylor. God is calling for travelers. He's calling for those who want relationship with him. You don't just want to come and see what he does, but you want to get to know who he is. Don't like to sing like him, to talk like him, but you want to get to know him. In just a moment, we're going to join him in the fellowship of his suffering, that we might reign with him. If there's one here who doesn't know the Lord Jesus Christ, in the pardoning of their sin, they don't know who he is. You've heard about him, you've seen him on sightseeing tours, but you have never gotten to know him. If there's one, the altar is open.